got another 3 to 4 inches of rain down here again this weekend. So everything is wet again. But one positive aspect of that is it'll help keep the dust down for the next couple of days. So that'll be nice. So the plan for today is to finish getting that siding torn off of that dormer up there and get new plywood on the sides, new plywood on the top, and get it all closed in, dried in, and then we'll start on the roofing of this side. Alright, so up here on this dormer, we got all the siding and the subsiding tore off, and I pushed the window out. Pretty much the only thing holding that window in was the trim. Obviously, that's not an original window. It's an aluminum window, so it's been replaced at some point. So I'm going to frame in a window opening here so we can put a new window in. But as we come around over here to the side, you'll see the stud there in the middle, which is actually not a stud. It's really just a nailer because it just stops right there. It's just nailed to those interior wall boards. Eventually those interior wall boards were going to come off, and if that's all that's holding that up, we're going to have a problem. So I need to put a stud in there that goes all the way down inside there, mounts to the floor in there. So we'll have something for our plywood to attach to, and then when we get into the inside and pull those wall boards off, then this whole thing won't fall down. So that will be the next plan here. Okay, well, I didn't film much today, but I did get that dormer closed in and underlayment on top of it, so it should be pretty well waterproof for now until I get the roofing on. I went ahead and just closed in the window for now because I don't know what size it's going to be, so I'll come back later and cut that back out when we know what size the window is going to be, and I may have to do some framing in there to close it in, but for now that's the way it's going to be. Well, we got Evan up here tearing off the front side, and I'm going to start putting shingles on this other side so we can get maybe twice as much work done today. Okay, I'm getting my shingles up to this dormer where I talked about in the last video the need for step flashing up the side. But I want to show you what's happening right here, and I'm going to try to do this if I can with one hand. So these shingles, this one here will extend across there, that next row, and then once I get those on, there will be a piece of flashing that goes like this, and it will actually be a solid piece that goes all the way across there. And so then if you imagine that the siding goes on here, so the water would come off of the siding, get on top of this piece, and then run out onto the shingles. And that's how you keep water from getting down inside here. And so then what you can do is come back and you can actually just glue the finished shingle piece on the top of this, put some dabs of adhesive there, and that way it looks nice. You don't have to see that flashing showing, but it's there, and it's allowing the water to push on down the roof and run off. And then this piece will actually be cut in a way that it actually folds around the corner here, and then our step flashing will start layering in with the shingles going up that side. So I'll show you that when I get there. Alright, so I've got this bottom flashing under the dormer here, and I've only nailed it here. This piece is laying loose. It's just the pressure of the fold holding it down. So the water comes off the siding here, goes over the top, runs back out on top of the shingles and off the roof. So no chance for any water to get in there. This piece wraps around this way, this piece wraps around this way. So again, no chance for water to get, any water that's coming down here is going to run straight off down the roof this way. And so now I'll try with one hand to continue on my shingles here and see if you can see how this is going to work. But so this first one, all right, so that one goes just like that. And this is what I was talking about. I'll cut some more strips this wide and just let them glue themselves down to that all the way across, so you don't actually see that flashing. Okay, so now another shingle will go on top of here. The water comes off of there. Any chance it gets in there, it'll push back out on top of the shingles, back onto this piece. It'll go onto that flashing and on down the roof. Okay, so maybe now you can see a little bit better how this works. So as the water comes off the siding, which will cover all this, it is going to want to go underneath here. So what it's going to do is it'll get on this flashing and it'll push back out on top of this piece. And then even if it wants to fall back down in here, it's going to get on top of this piece, which is under there, and it's going to push it back out on top of this piece. And so they just layer in, and there's no way for water to get back in there. And then again, once it gets back out here, it's just going to go right off the roof. So I hope that helps. Seeing it maybe helps a little bit. When I first started doing roofing, my father-in-law was teaching me, and he said, just think like a raindrop. So if you can think like a raindrop and figure out that you only go down and you look for the least resistance, then you just fill in all those holes as you go down, anywhere that water would try to get, and make sure it doesn't get in there. And that's the best explanation I ever heard of roofing. It's very simple. Just think like a raindrop. All right, I've made it up here to this valley where these two roofs intersect. And so I'm going to try to show you what I've done here to keep the water from getting in. So the first thing you start with is metal flashing, and it's nailed on the outside. So this metal comes all the way up over here. It's nailed here, and as you go up, it's nailed on the outside. So it just creates a valley there for the water to run down. Now the next thing you do is you take one side of the roof and you just run them up on that side, and that way there, when the water comes off this side, it gets in here, runs down. If it does happen to get through here, it's just flashing, it's going to drop down here. Now where these shingles have come up underneath this eave here, they go all the way up another layer under there, but then I left this one cut right here, so when I come back and do this, the fascia on this, I'll have a piece of metal fascia that wraps around here, and then I'll take a piece of black metal and bend it just like that step flashing, and it will come and slip underneath here, and I'll slide it all the way up under here, so any water that comes off here, if it gets blown back in there or anything, it'll get on that step flashing, it'll come right back out here and continue its journey on down the roof. And so that's how you keep that from happening. There's actually a lot of different ways to do valleys. People have different ideas and thoughts on it. Manufacturers have different specifications on it. So this is the way I'm doing it. I'm actually, when I come in this side, this one is going to slide in underneath this one, which has already started sealing down. And so slide that one behind there, get it in place, so that creates kind of a weave right there. But then all the rest of them from this side will be on top here, and I'll show you what that's going to look like once I get started on that. And you'll kind of see how that keeps the water from penetrating the roof and pushes on down. Okay, so I've got a start here. I can show you what I'm doing. You can see I just laid shingles right up the valley there. That second one's not nailed yet. It's just to show you what's happening. And then when you bring in these shingles from this side, you just stop them wherever they intersect with that angle. Now, a lot of people don't like to do it this way, and I'm not sure why. Maybe they don't like the look of it or whatever, but a lot of guys will actually just bring these shingles over and let them run up here, and then once they get the whole thing done, they snap a chalk line and come back and cut them straight. The only issue with that is that as you get water that comes off of this roof and comes down, if it gets enough speed and can get up over here, your shingles don't have any kind of seal on this side. It's only on the bottom. So by laying this shingle up this way, you actually have this seal under here. Once that gets hot, it'll glue itself down, and that creates a barrier all the way up and down that valley. So when water tries to come over here, it can't get in and it's forced back down the valley. And then also, you don't want these, actually the bottom of the valley is right here. You actually want to hold these back up a little bit so that the water doesn't just automatically try to get up there. It actually would have to try really hard, get a lot of speed to get going that back up there. And we're only dealing with about 5 or 6 feet here that water can get moving, so chances of that happening are pretty slim. But this is actually one of the manufacturer's preferred methods of doing valleys. I don't think it's this manufacturer, but it is one of them. So it's the one I like to use. It gives you this nice straight line to look at after you're all done. And when you look up from the ground, you see this nice straight cut. You don't have this weave thing going on and where it looks like it's going back and forth. You can actually see right where the valley is, and it just, to me, looks a lot nicer. Okay, so now there you have an idea of what this looks like. And so obviously, once I get up here to the top, we have ridge cap that has to come across here, and it'll tie in with this main roof. I got to bring the other side up over there and match it in, finish this whole dormer and do the caps and work our way on up. Hopefully I'll get this side done today. Alright, so I got both sides of the roofing brought up. The dormer is done, except now I'm working on the ridge cap. So again, like I said earlier, when you're doing roofing, if you can just think like a raindrop, then it should be pretty easy to figure out. So you want to start from the bottom, layer them over the top. Ridge cap, pretty easy to go on. They have this adhesive here that when it gets hot, it sticks it down. Next one will lay over here. They even have a cut kind of in the middle, helps you line them up all the way up. So think like a raindrop, which it's actually starting to rain a little bit. And I've got that side done. I'll do this side up to the main ridge, and then I'll start over there and come back in, and then we tie it in to the main roof over there. Alright, we come up both of those sides, across the top. When that gets hot, that will lay down. And now to layer this back in, where we keep water from going in there, we just throw a shingle right on top of there. And as that gets hot, which I'll probably wait until it warms up tomorrow before I even put that on there, but that will mold around the top of there. So as the water comes off the main roof, it'll hit here, it'll continue on down, it won't be able to get in, and we'll be dry, no problems. So that's how you tie in a dormer to a main roof, or in any situation where you have intersecting roofs. That's how you keep the water out. So I went ahead and just tied that all in. I got one more shingle that I don't have up here on the roof, so I'm gonna not finish that today. But that'll get me as high as I am on that other side, and be ready to tear that top cap off at some point and start bringing these together. But right now there's some lift up right there, but as soon as the sun hits that and it warms up, that'll all lay down, seal itself in place, and it'll be waterproof. No worries there. Yeah, same out here on the end. That'll warm up, lay down, it'll be fine. Well, another week down. As you can see, we got that one whole side done. The front tore off and partway decked again. So next week we'll get that one covered up and start working on the last side. I'm looking forward to that one, because when it's done, I'm not getting on this roof ever again. See y'all next time.